In preparedness, it's usually the small details that can disrail a perfectly laid out preparedness plan. And in this video today, I want to talk about some of the uncommon preparedness supplies. Some of these supplies we wouldn't even consider quote unquote preparedness supplies, but these items that will absolutely make the difference in a number of different situations. Now, the things that I'm going to be talking about today are not the ones that are going to make the headlines, right? They're not the indoor stoves. They are not the night vision goggles. They're not all of these super fantastic preparedness supplies that you just have to have. These are the supplies that maybe you already have laying around your house already. They're really low cost, really inexpensive supplies that are going to make the difference when and if a survival situation happens, from just your basic power outage to something much larger. Now, this list is only about 30 items, and there are literally hundreds that you could put on this list. If you have any, make sure to leave them in the comments below. But with that, let's go ahead and get into the list that I put together today.
The first one I've got here, you've got Ziploc bags. Ziploc bags are great for, with all the different things that we have in prepping, the different sizes of Ziploc bags are fantastic. Whether you're putting stuff in your bug out bag, maybe you're putting things in a cache. So you've got to, maybe you want to, put your ammunition in a Ziploc bag, or maybe even a firearm, something like that. A knife in a Ziploc bag. Those vacuum seal bags are great too, especially when I was talking about like the survival cache, or even a bug out bag, things like that. They're one step below the actual Mylar bag and sealing those up with an actual sealer, but they do work pretty well.
Another item or items is 5-gallon buckets, or the 1-gallon buckets, 2-gallon buckets, 6-gallon buckets. All of these buckets, I can't tell you the last time I threw away one of these buckets, because they can be used for just a number of different things, from food storage to, emergency toilets, although I wouldn't use the same bucket for both of those, but there are a number of different uses. I store rice and flour and even some beans in 5-gallon buckets, and when I open those up, I'll transfer those into smaller buckets, the 1 or 2-gallon buckets. So there are uses for a lot of different sizes. Most of these buckets are the round ones, but you've also got square ones and other buckets like that. But buckets are absolutely great in preparedness for a number of different situations. One of those go-to multi-purpose preparedness items.
The next one is yard bags, and trash bags in general, I suppose, but yard bags are really great. I've got one in my bug out bag, really heavy duty bags. I'm talking the kind that, you can throw tree branches and stuff in, and it's going to have a hard time splitting it open. Those types of bags, those can be used for just a whole bunch of different things. And I think that's one of the necessities of, if you're going to Walmart and you don't have any yard bags, go grab a box of them and get them, because you can use them as rain ponchos. They're big enough. You could use it as a makeshift rain poncho. You could cut it. You could make a shelter with it. Just so many different things. You could use it to collect water. You could use it to, actually, if you didn't have a bug out bag, you could actually carry stuff in there. Or maybe you did have a bug out bag and you were out collecting firewood or something, of that nature. Just so many different purposes for a yard bag that it's a necessity, I think, to have. All right, so duct tape and paracord, both of these, I'm going to go through these real quick here, but both of them, we all know duct tape is you can do anything with duct tape. If you don't have this or you don't have that, use some duct tape. You got baling wire, duct tape and baling wire, and we can basically make anything. Cordage is just one of those things in preparedness you can never have enough. Lisa, when we get hay bales, she collects all that twine. She's got a big feed bag just full of 2, 3 foot, 5 foot lengths of twine. But I've got hundreds of feet of paracord. I've got jute twine, just a whole bunch of different things. Cordage is always good to have. You just never know which types of situations. The next one I've got here is pantyhose, nylons, basically. And this is one maybe a lot of people don't think about, but you could use these for water filters. You could use these for a lot of different things, a face mask, I suppose. not just robbing a bank or anything like that, but if you didn't have like the bandanas that are on this list, you could use one of those for that. So I think nylons, you could use it to put stuff in to carry stuff. I mean, you could take a big long leg and make a, I don't know, put all your little prepping supply trinkets and throw it around your neck or whatever, tie the two ends off, and make something out of that. Just a lot of different things you could do with the nylons. But sort of along the same lines of that is bandanas. And Lisa wrote a post back when I first started, I think, about 100 uses for a bandana. And there are. I mean, that's why we all try to keep one or a schmog or something like that in our bug out bags. Just a lot of different things you can do with them. Filtering, air, putting it over your face, concealment, all sorts of different things you can do with a bandana. But bandanas and stuff like that, just those multi-purpose items. You could even make cordage out of a bandana if you needed to. Just chop it up into little strips or something and do that. This roll of plastic right here is the Visqueen I was talking about. These plastic rolls are big enough, you could just do a lot of things with them. If you're talking about pandemic type situation, viruses, you're sealing up windows. Even if you're just trying to keep heat inside the house, sealing up windows with this type of Visqueen, sealing up doors and all sorts of different things. Use it as a tarp. If you don't have your tarp or you need another tarp, same thing. Cut off a piece of that, use it as a tarp. And then vinegar and bleach. And both of these, vinegar basically could be used as a cleaning supply, cooking. I mean, a lot of different uses for vinegar. Bleach, the same thing, disinfectant for your water, a lot of different things with bleach. And then coffee filters is another one I've got on this one. I'm trying to get through these so I'm not here all night long bugging you guys, but coffee filters is another good one. It's same sort of on the same lines as all of these first three right here, the bandanas, the nylons, and the coffee filters, but you can use them to store things in. You could use them to filter water, get the sediment, pre-filter your water. A lot of different things that a coffee filter could be good for. And we all, probably 99% of us, all have coffee filters sitting around the house.
A few other items that you might already have in your pantry are salt, baking soda, and baking powder. Salt is great for a number of different reasons, even if it's just to put on some bland food, but it's also good for preserving food. And there are different types of salt. You've got sea salt, you've got kosher salt, regular table salt, a few different kinds of salt. But salt is one of those things you're probably going to want to stock up quite a bit of. And then when it comes to baking soda and baking powder, those both have some uses in preparedness. While baking powder is mainly used for baking, it's a leavening agent helping things rise. Baking soda actually has a number of different uses, whether you're talking about making toothpaste, using it for hygiene, sanitation, cleaning, and things like that. Also with baking soda, after baking soda expires, it doesn't necessarily go bad or become toxic. It actually retains some of the properties that baking powder would have, so it can still be used for cleaning and things like that.
The next one is clothespins, and clothespins can be used for a number of different things in conjunction with a lot of these other prepping supplies that we have, like the Visqueen, the Mylar bags. A lot of different things we can hang. We can use it for, hanging up shelter. Maybe we need to get something hooked up in a spot until we have time to tie it off, and then we can use it for that. A lot of different uses for these right here. Why not, have some just regular old clothes hangers and just hanging clothes, right? Because in a grid down situation, you've got to wash your own clothes, and that sort of goes into the totes and things that the 5-gallon buckets, maybe that goes into the same type of thing. So you need those clothespins to actually hang that stuff because your dryer's not going to be working. Reynolds wrap here is also a good one. And this is sort of a smaller scale of the Visqueen type thing where you could seal certain things up. It could be a window. It wouldn't work. It doesn't have the thickness and it doesn't have the strength that large plastic sheeting would, but it would work in a pinch. covering things up, preserving things, making sure without refrigeration, you want to make sure that there's the least amount of air getting to stuff as possible. So that if you didn't have the Ziploc bags or things like that.
Along the same lines of this is tinfoil. And the main thing that people think about when, in preparedness with tinfoil is the tinfoil hats, but the EMP proofing of things. But there are a lot of different uses for tinfoil in preparedness, from the EMP factor to just basic food prep or food preservation. You've got cooking, maybe you put it over something to, make it easier to clean up, water collection and purification. You've got signaling and communications, insulation for a shelter. Just a number of different things that tinfoil is good for. And it's one of those things back before I started preparing. Maybe I bought one and waited for that to run out and I went and bought another one. These days, I have 3 or 4 different rolls as backups just in case, because it is one of those things you don't want to run out of, because it could be that one little supply that makes all the difference in the world for something you're trying to do.
All right, trash cans, plastic and aluminum. Aluminum trash cans, you got the Faraday cage aspect of it. Cardboard boxes, which is another thing that I don't have on this list. Like I said, there's just hundreds of these things. But you get a cardboard box and you can seal that up a little bit. You've got yourself a DIY Faraday cage. The plastic totes can be used for rain catchment. They can be used for washing. A lot of different uses for these different types of trash bags. Even your kitchen trash or trash can, if you've got a plastic one in the kitchen or in the garage. All right, so Mylar blankets. And this, a lot of these that I've been talking about sort of have the same type of principle, same thing as a tarp. Even that Visqueen that I was talking about, the plastic sheeting. But these little cheap Mylar blankets, they're only like $1 a piece. I've got a whole drawer full. I've probably got 30 or 40 of them just sitting there. But the Mylar blankets are just good to have for a you just never know when something like that might come in handy. You could even make a pillow or something out of it. Say you've got one in your bug out bag, you could figure out a way to tape that closed, stuff it with leaves, things like that. You can make a pillow out of it. So just something cool to have. And, you just never know what it's going to be useful for. Baby wipes is another one. Could be used for cleaning up, could be used for cleaning up the kitchen, could be used for cleaning you up. It could be, disinfectant, all sorts of different things that baby wipes can be used for. And it's going to be a lot better. Paper towels are good too, but there are certain situations where those baby wipes are going to be better to use, or more functional, I suppose, than just a paper towel. You get a paper towel wet and it's, you have to go that route. With some baby wipes, you got a few different options. And then I've got a couple of things, corks, which are, good for a lot of different things, whether, sealing things shut, that you can be used as a bobber for fishing. Same thing with the bobby pins right there. But speaking of fishing stuff, you can use the tin cans, the top of a tin can, to make a fish hook, dental floss on here to make some fishing line. So that little kit right there is basically a makeshift cross your fingers fishing kit right there. Good luck trying to catch anything with that, but who knows? The last one I wanted to talk about here is this potassium permanganate. And this is one, I brought this up intentionally because this is one I catch a whole lot of heat about. Anytime I did a video a little while back about starting a fire with potassium permanganate. And people just, anytime I talk about this stuff, they're like, all right, yeah, like we're going to be carrying this around in our bug out bags. I do. I have a small vial of it in my bug out bag because it's not just for starting fires. To start a fire, you need this, antifreeze, brake fluid, but you can use those two things to get a fire started. And I showed it in that video. In an SHTF situation, especially if you're in a suburban area or even a rural area, you're in a bug out situation with your bug out bag. There's a decent chance that you might run across an abandoned car. And in that abandoned car, you may be able to get some brake fluid. Now, granted, we should have our lighters, we should have our ferro rods, we should have, whatever sort of fire starting material we have, whether it's the stuff you buy. I've got some wet fire, which is basically a little wax thing. You take your ferro rod and strike it on there, it lights up real quick. You get Vaseline, cotton balls, all that stuff. But in a pinch, this will work for starting fires. But this is not the only reason that I have this in my bug out bag. But you can use it to, I don't know about purifying water, but it does kill bacteria, algae, viruses, fungi within an hour. And you use a smaller portion. Like with starting a fire, you use straight up, it's like 50-50 mixture of brake fluid and potassium permanganate. This is quite a bit less that you would need to purify water. It also is a disinfectant. So there's 3 different uses for this right here that, to me, the weight, the very little weight that it takes to carry something like this, and I probably have a little vial of a couple ounces, enough to put together and get one fire started, basically. But because it's got so many different purposes, it's sort of a why not, and it weighs so little, it's sort of a why not thing.
So that's the list that I've got here. And this is one of those sort of fun topics. And honestly, we could probably go through our house and find a preparedness use for every single product that we have. So it is one of those things that these will be useful. And the more you think about it, the more you brainstorm, the more ideas you're going to come up with. This was 30 of them, but like I said in the beginning, there's probably hundreds more that would be really useful in a general sense as far as preparedness is concerned, and even some that are specific to certain disaster scenarios. Again, if you have any ideas, any comments, make sure to leave them in the comment section below. With that, I am done here today. Take care and prepare, everyone. We will talk to you all later.